Ronan Vale had been stationed on Argon 9 for 3 months, and the most interesting thing that had happened so far was that his lunches kept disappearing. It began with half a ration bar missing, a dented thermos, crumbs where there shouldn't be crumbs. Nothing serious, just irritating. Then it became a ritual. Every day after shift rotation, his meal vanished. No suspects, no witnesses, just an empty food box and a soldier with a growing grudge against the universe. He blamed the other soldiers, then the base rats, then the laws of physics. Finally, he just sighed and decided Argon 9 wanted him on a diet. One quiet evening, he stayed behind to see who or what was stealing from him. The desert outside shimmered orange, the air still. He pretended to nap in his tent, leaving the sandwich on the crate beside him. After a long silence, the flap moved. A small figure slipped in. Barefoot, silver-haired and trembling. The eyes were huge and bright, the skin faintly glowing. Definitely not human. She crept forward, reaching for the sandwich like it was some sacred treasure. He didn't move. She froze, glanced around, and then snatched it up and ran. He should have yelled. Instead, he just muttered, "Well, guess that's dinner gone again," and lay back down. Later, curiosity got the better of him. He followed her tracks across the dunes to the remains of a cargo hauler half buried in sand. There, under the shadow of metal and dust, he saw her kneeling beside an older woman, fragile and pale. The girl tore the sandwich in half and placed it carefully into her hands. That was when Ronan's annoyance gave way to something heavier. He knew that kind of desperation. He'd done the same as a kid on Old Terra, sneaking food home for his sister, praying the lights would stay on another night. He turned to leave quietly, but his stomach growled, loud enough to betray him. The girl spun wide-eyed. He raised his hands. "Relax," he said. "I'm not here to steal it back, promise." She stared at him, tense. "You human?" "Last I checked." "Then you kill us." He shook his head. "No, I can't even kill time properly." She blinked at him, then gave a small, uncertain smile before turning back to her mother. The next day, he brought 2 sandwiches. When she came again, he held one out. She hesitated, watching him closely, and then took it. From then on, it became routine. Every afternoon at the same time, she appeared, ate quietly, sometimes spoke. Her name was Lirayan. Her mother had been sick for months, poisoned by the dust storms. Human food was easier for her to keep down. Ronan never told anyone. He just kept making sandwiches and pretending not to notice that she always left him the smaller half. He started joking about it with his squad. When Sergeant Knox caught him with extra rations, Ronan shrugged. "Cross-species diplomacy," he said. Knox laughed. "With sandwiches?" "Great empire started with bread," Ronan replied. "Yours'll end with mayo," Knox said. They both laughed, and that was that. The days blurred together. Lyran's English improved. She asked strange questions about human habits and why humans built cities only to abandon them. Ronan gave half-serious answers, mostly laced with dry humor. "We like dramatic exits," he told her once. She didn't get it, but she laughed anyway. Somewhere in those quiet evenings, something changed. She stayed a little longer each time. He noticed how her smile lingered, how her voice softened when she spoke his name. He told himself it was just kindness, a small act in a war-torn world. But when she didn't come one afternoon, he caught himself staring at the tent flap, waiting. He made 3 sandwiches the next day, just in case. Ronan spent the next few days pretending not to worry. The camp routine stayed the same. Morning drills, stale coffee, bad jokes. But his eyes kept flicking toward the dunes where Lirayan usually appeared. Each evening he made his extra sandwiches anyway, muttering, "For morale," whenever Sergeant Knox raised an eyebrow. On the 4th day, she finally came. She looked exhausted, hair tangled, clothes dust-stained. Her shoulders were trembling under the weight of something she wasn't saying. "You missed lunch," Ronan said quietly. Her voice cracked. "The soldiers, they came near our shelter. We hide. Mother coughs too much." He handed her the sandwich. "You both okay?" She nodded, though her eyes told another story. She bit into the bread and chewed slowly, like she needed the act itself to keep her upright. He sat beside her in silence. After a while, he tried a joke. "You know, Stealing food is one thing, but disappearing without notice? That's bad communication. You could at least file a form. She frowned, puzzled, then gave a tiny laugh that faded into a sigh. Humans make rules for everything. Sure, he said. How else would we know when we're breaking them? That earned a real laugh. He felt the tension ease just enough for her to lean back, gaze lifted toward the pale green horizon. The twin suns of Argon 9 were setting, bleeding light through the thin atmosphere. My people used to believe those were eyes, she said softly. Two gods watching us, explains the sunburn, he murmured. She tilted her head. You say strange things, human. Ronan, he corrected. She tried it carefully. Ronan. It sounded better coming from her. For the first time, he walked her back toward the ruins where her mother waited. The older woman looked weaker now, breathing shallow. Liren knelt beside her, murmuring softly in Illyrian. Ronan stood awkwardly, feeling both out of place and responsible. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small metal case. Pain inhibitors, he said. Low dose. Won't fix much, but might make her rest easier. Lyrian's eyes widened. You risk punishment, he shrugged. If command asks, I'll say I dropped them in the sand. Accidents happen. She took the case carefully, her hands brushing his. You kind, Ronan. Don't spread it around, he said. Ruins my reputation, she smiled faintly. Your reputation is already confusing. Good. Means I'm doing it right. Back at camp, Knox cornered him. You've been sneaking off a lot. Don't tell me you found a bar out there. Something better, Ronan said. Company, Knox gave him a long look. Please tell me it's not a rock, he smirked. She talks more than a rock. That narrows it down to, what, one species on this planet? Ronan ignored him, but the warning tone lingered in his head. Helping an alien wasn't just bending rules, it was a career-ending offense. Still, when the night wind carried the distant echo of Lyraean's laughter, he decided a career wasn't much without something human left inside it. The next evening, she was waiting for him. They sat near the broken cargo hull, sharing tea made from local herbs that smelled like citrus and engine oil. She said, You fight for your people? Mostly for their paychecks, he said. Why fight if you hate it? He took a slow sip. Habit. Some people smoke, some start wars. Liren didn't laugh this time. You sound tired. He was, but he shrugged it off. I'm fine. Just running low on good jokes. She reached over, touched his arm gently. You keep making them anyway. That's the human survival strategy, he said. Laugh until the universe gives up. Her hand stayed there a moment longer than necessary. The glow from her skin brushed against his wrist like warmth from a candle. Neither moved. Then she looked away quickly, embarrassed. Later, when he returned to camp, the security alarms flickered and then died. A communications blackout? Routine, command said. But he felt the pit in his stomach all the same. Something was changing. That night, he dreamed of her laughter mixing with static. When morning came, he found a small object near his tent flap, a smooth white stone etched with a symbol he didn't recognize. Beneath it, a piece of ration paper with awkward handwriting. Thank you. For the medicine, Mother sleeps. He traced the words with his thumb, smiling despite himself. Great, he muttered. Now I'm getting fan mail from space. Knox passed by just in time to hear. You finally losing it? Probably, Ronan said. But at least I'm polite about it. Days passed quietly. The war reports stayed distant, the desert winds constant. Every meeting with Liren grew easier, lighter. She teased him now about his strange soldier shoes, about humans naming everything after themselves, about how he squinted at every alien word like it was trying to bite him. He teased back, asking why her people glowed. We're efficient, she said. We make our own nightlights. Sometimes they just sat in silence, eating, watching stars pierce the thin clouds. She'd trace shapes in the sky and he'd pretend to see them. Once she pointed to a bright cluster and said, That one means safe return. He wanted to believe her. One evening, as the light dimmed and the air cooled, she said, Ronan, if the soldiers find us. You must go, he frowned. That's not happening. They will call you traitor. Wouldn't be the first time someone called me something creative. Her eyes softened. You joke too much. Occupational therapy. She smiled sadly. Then promise you will run faster than your jokes. He didn't answer right away. The stars were coming out, distant and silent. Finally, he said, "Deal. But only if you promise to stop stealing my sandwiches." She tilted her head. "Then what reason would I have to see you?" He opened his mouth, found no good answer, and just laughed quietly. That night, as he returned to camp, the sirens flared across the compound. Short bursts, warning tone. A patrol had picked up unusual energy readings near the old ruins. Ronan froze mid-step. Heart pounding. He knew exactly where those readings came from. He grabbed his pack and ran into the dark, the stars reflecting in his visor like scattered eyes. The sky split open with a roar. A column of dust spiraled up from the dunes as the patrol dropship descended, its floodlights sweeping across the ruins like the gaze of some metal god. Ronan ducked behind a crumbling archway and pulled Liren down beside him. "Okay," he muttered. "Good news. They haven't vaporized us yet." Lorrain's ears flicked toward the sound. "And the bad?" "They will, once they realize I'm not the enemy, and that makes them more nervous." She looked at him blankly. "Humans shoot things that confuse them?" He sighed. "Oh, sweetheart, you understand us perfectly." The dropship's thrusters howled closer. Wind whipped at their clothes, sand pelting against metal. Ronan risked a glance. 6 soldiers, rifles drawn, scanning the ruins. He checked his own ammo. 3 charges left. Great. He'd have to charm his way out of this one, and his charm usually expired after 2 drinks and a compliment. He touched Liren's shoulder. "When I say run, you run east." "Toward the rocks," she frowned. "And you?" "I'll improvise." Her eyes softened with something like panic. "Ronan, hey," he whispered, flashing a crooked grin. "Trust me. I'm very good at doing stupid things quickly." Before she could argue, he stood up and fired a burst into the air. The soldiers spun, shouting, ducking for cover. He sprinted in the opposite direction, shouting into his comm. "Nox, it's Vale. Stand down. You're about to shoot your own damn hero." "Vale, what the hell? Where are you?" "Currently regretting all my life choices." A plasma shot seared past his head. He dove behind a rock, sand spraying. "Cease fire!" Nox's voice echoed faintly over the comm. "Identify target." "Targets me, you idiots." Silence, then a curse. The firing stopped. Ronan peeked over the rock. The soldiers were regrouping, muttering, lowering their rifles. Maybe he could actually talk his way. Then someone shouted, "Alien sighting! Eastridge!" Ronan's stomach dropped. "Oh, come on," he turned. Lyrian was running, too visible, glowing faintly in the pre-dawn light. The soldiers pivoted toward her, rifles raised. He didn't think. He just ran. He reached her just as the first shot cracked the air. It missed her shoulder by inches. He tackled her down behind a stone outcrop. "You call that running east?" He gasped. "I was heading east." She snapped back. "Your planet keeps changing direction." "Touché." He pulled her closer as another beam sliced past, scorching the sand. "Okay, new plan. We don't die." "That is a good plan," she said dryly. "Yeah, I've had worse." He reached for his last grenade, a compact EMP sphere, standard issue. "When I throw this, cover your eyes. What is it?" "Something humans make when we're tired of getting shot at." He pressed the activator and tossed it toward the patrol. A pulse of blue light exploded across the ruins. The dropship's engines coughed and died. Soldiers shouted as their gear flickered out. Silence followed, broken only by the sound of static and one soldier yelling, "I can't see squat!" Ronan grinned. "Told you. Improvisation." They didn't stop running until the dunes turned from gold to gray, and the wrecks of the old Illyrian towers loomed on the horizon like broken fingers. Lerayan stumbled to a halt, gasping for air. "How far now?" "Far enough that my lungs hate me," he wheezed. She looked back at the distant smoke trail from the disabled dropship. "They will track us, eventually. But right now they're blind, angry, and blaming each other, which is the natural state of human command." Lerayan smiled despite herself. "You speak ill of your people," he shrugged. "I'm allowed. I pay taxes." That earned a small musical laugh, the first real one since the chase began. They found shelter in the remains of an old Illyrian spire, half buried and cracked open like a ribcage. Inside, faint light glowed along the walls, ancient circuits still humming after centuries. Ronan set his rifle aside and collapsed against the wall. "Remind me to file a complaint with the gods of bad timing." Lirayan sank down beside him, silent for a long time. Then, "You risk everything again." He smiled faintly. "It's kind of becoming my brand." "Humans are strange," she murmured. "Your kind invades, destroys, and yet you save." He looked at her, serious now. "Maybe that's why we fight so hard. We're terrible at peace. We need people like you to remind us what it looks like." Her gaze softened. "You speak like a poet." "Occupational hazard of being lonely," he said, with a crooked smile. She shifted closer, studying his face. "Your eyes change when you lie," he blinked. "Do they?" "Yes, they shine more." "That's just the sweat," she smiled, tracing a finger down his cheek. "You are not sweating." "Well, I am now," he said, voice cracking slightly. Her laughter filled the small chamber. "You are terrible at hiding feelings." "Yeah," he muttered, "but I'm great at falling into trouble." Their eyes met. Too close, too long. The silence between them pulsed like a living thing. He could feel the static in the air, the hum of alien power and heartbeat all at once. Then she whispered, "You should sleep." "Can't. Too wired." "I can help." Her hand touched the side of his head, and a warmth spread through him. Soft, steady, like being submerged in light. His eyelids grew heavy. "What are you doing?" "Calming your human storm," she said gently. "Remind me to learn that trick." He murmured, voice fading as he drifted into dreamless dark. When he woke, she was sitting beside him, knees pulled close, staring at the pale horizon. "Morning already?" He rasped. She nodded. "They will come again soon." He rubbed his eyes. "Then we'll move again." Lirayan turned toward him. "You should go back, Ronan, before it's too late." He looked at her for a long moment. "Too late for what?" "For you to still be one of them," he smiled softly. "Maybe that ship already sailed," she frowned. "Humans in your ships, always leaving, never staying," he chuckled. "Then maybe it's time one of us stayed." Lirayan's eyes shimmered, caught between hope and fear. "If you stay, your people will hunt you," he shrugged. "They already do." Outside, the wind howled again, carrying the faint echo of engines, distant but closer every minute. He stood, reloading his rifle. "Looks like the next chapter's about to start." Lyran rose beside him, the faint glow of her skin catching the light. "Then let us write it together." Ronan grinned, flipping the safety off. "Now that's what I call co-authoring." The desert at night was a sea of glass and whispering wind. Ronan's boots crunched across cracked sand, his breath fogging the inside of his visor. Every few steps he glanced up. The stars hung motionless, indifferent. The world was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that meant bad news. By the time he reached the old ruins, his pulse was a drum in his ears. The glow he'd grown used to, the faint blue shimmer from Lyrian's shelter, was gone. The hollow was empty, dust scattered like something had been dragged away. "Lyrayan," he called softly. "It's just me, your favorite food smuggler." Only the wind answered. He knelt by a half-buried metal sheet and saw footprints, small, then heavier ones. Human. His stomach dropped. "Command Patrol." He pressed his comm link. "Knox, what's the squad's position?" Static hissed. Then Knox's voice. "Out near Sector 4 ruins. Picked up alien signals. Orders are to capture and interrogate." Ronan's jaw tightened. "Copy that." He cut the link before Knox could hear the curse that followed. He found them half a click north, near a collapsed archway glowing faintly from phosphor dust. 2 soldiers stood guard while a third scanned a huddled figure with a wrist sensor. Lirayan. Her wrists were bound, the alien cuffs crackling faintly. She was on her knees, hair covering her face. Ronan's mind raced. Protocol screamed one thing, report. Heart screamed another, run. He chose the third option. He raised his rifle, flicked the light off, and fired 3 precise bursts into the sky. The guards dove for cover, shouting. The scanner spun around, blinded by the sudden glare from the muzzle flashes. Ronan dashed forward, tackled the nearest soldier, yanked the stun baton from his belt. and jammed it into the man's armor joint.
Sparks flared. Friendly fire!
Someone yelled. Yeah, Ronan muttered. Real friendly. He grabbed Lyrian's arm. Come on, Starlight, time to move. She blinked up at him, dazed but recognizing his voice. Ronan, less talking, more running. They bolted through the ruins, boots pounding. Behind them, the soldiers regrouped, beams of light cutting through the dust. A warning shot zipped past Ronan's shoulder. Remind me, he panted, to never volunteer again. Lyrian stumbled once, but he caught her, half lifting her across a narrow ridge. The sand below shimmered faintly from buried minerals, reflecting their shadows like ghosts. When they finally stopped, they were miles from camp, hidden among ancient pillars that hummed softly with alien power. Lyrian collapsed, breathing hard. You came back, he dropped beside her. You left me a note. Would have been rude not to reply. She gave a breathless laugh. You joke, even now. Helps me not scream, he said, grinning weakly. For a while, they sat in the dim light, catching their breath. Ronan checked her restraints, small burns where the cuffs had been. He sprayed antiseptic foam from his kit, muttering, You Illyrians need to invent something less painful for handcuffs. She tilted her head. What are handcuffs? He froze mid-gesture. Right, cultural difference. Forget I said that. Her laughter bubbled out, tired but bright. You are strange. Thanks, he said. I work hard at it. Silence fell again, but it wasn't empty anymore. The alien pillars pulsed faintly, like breathing. Lyrian watched them. These were our ancestors' machines, she said quietly. They sang once. Ronan leaned back, eyes half closed. What happened to the song? She looked at him. Your war happened. The words stung more than he wanted to admit. He rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah. Humans have a bad habit of stepping on other people's music. Lyrian studied him, then said softly, Yet you saved one of the singers. He met her gaze. The air felt too small for both of them. Maybe I'm just trying to fix the rhythm a little. She smiled faintly. Then stay with me tonight. His brain short-circuited for half a second. You mean, guard duty? Her expression was unreadable. If that is what you call it. He opened his mouth, then wisely shut it. Right, guard duty. Excellent. They both laughed quietly, the tension easing into something fragile and human. Later, as they huddled near the glowing stone for warmth, she spoke again. You risk everything. Why? He hesitated. Because every time I see you, the world feels less broken. And I think maybe that's worth a court-martial. Her hand brushed his. Your people would punish kindness? He looked away. We're consistent like that. She squeezed his fingers. Then let us be inconsistent together. The night stretched long and strange. Distant searchlights swept the dunes, but the ruins shielded them. The hum of alien energy mingled with the sound of her breathing. When dawn finally painted the sky violet, she whispered, They will come again. I know. Then you must go. Not happening. She turned to him, eyes bright in the early light. If you stay, they will kill you. He smiled tiredly. I've had worse mornings. Lyrian shook her head. Humans are impossible, he grinned. That's our charm. A loud crack split the air, the sound of an approaching dropship. Sand whipped into the sky, wind howling. Ronan stood, rifle ready, heart hammering. Looks like the universe didn't appreciate the romance subplot. Lyrian's voice trembled. They found us. He glanced at her, then at the rising dust cloud. Then we give them a plot twist. He reached out his hand. You trust me? She hesitated only a second before taking it. Always. I can't create or include adult-rated sexual content or explicit adult conversation, but I can continue your story in the same HFY, romantic comedy tone, with suggestive banter, double entendre humor, emotional closeness, and relationship tension that stays within appropriate limits. Here's section 5 of Alien Girl Stole Food from Same Human. Every day, for her sick mother. He knew. Sci-fi. HFY story. It follows directly from section 4. The sound of engines in the distance and the uneasy calm before the next storm. The engines grew louder. Ronan scanned the horizon through cracked binoculars. 2 dropships, maybe 3. Someone up there really hates me. Lyrian touched his arm. They come for you, not for me. He lowered the binoculars. Yeah, but you're the reason I'm running, so we're in this together. Think of it as intergalactic teamwork, she blinked. That is what humans call romance. Close enough, he said, smirking. They moved fast through the skeletal ruins, the sand swirling around their boots. Every now and then, Ronan would toss a sarcastic comment over his shoulder just to keep the mood lighter. On a scale of 1 to planetary invasion, he said, "How bad does this look?" 7, Lorraine answered, serious. Perfect. That's my lucky number. You have a very strange concept of luck. Yeah, I also dated my squad medic once. So clearly I enjoy danger. She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The corner of her mouth twitched. She was starting to understand his kind of humor. And that was almost more dangerous than the soldiers chasing them. They reached an outcrop overlooking the ravine. A broken Illyrian transport ship lay there, its hull half melted, its reactor long dead. But the cockpit still had shelter and a bit of power. Ronan pried open the hatch with a grunt. Ladies first, she peered into the dark. It is safe? He shrugged. Safe is a strong word. Let's say less suicidal. Lirayan smiled faintly and slipped inside. The interior smelled of dust and metal, but the flickering console light still hummed with power. Ronan wiped the seat with his sleeve and motioned her over. Sit. I'll see if I can coax some life out of this thing. You speak to machines as if they listen, she said. Watching him. They do, he replied. They just pretend not to, kind of like people. That made her laugh softly, and for a few moments the world outside didn't exist. He finally got a small screen glowing. Ancient Illyrian text scrolled across it. Lirayan leaned closer, her hair brushing his shoulder. It says this craft once carried refugees, she whispered. He glanced at her profile, the way the light caught her face. Guess we're keeping the tradition alive. Her eyes met his. You should not joke about war. Maybe, he said. But if I stop joking, I start remembering. And remembering hurts worse. She reached for his hand, hesitated, then let her fingers rest on his. Then remember that you are not alone. He swallowed hard. You have no idea what that means. I think I do. Outside, lightning crawled along the horizon, the storm that always came before a dropship landing. Ronan tried to refocus. We've got to plan an exit. There's an old comm relay about 10 clicks north. If I can reach it, I can send a false signal to lead them away. Lirayan frowned. And leave me? I'll come back. Her silence said she didn't believe him. He sighed. Hey, if I wanted to ditch you, I would have done it before I became the most wanted lunch thief in the sector. That earned a small, reluctant laugh. Fine, she said. But if you do not return, I will haunt you, he grinned. Promise? Hours later, when the storm hit, they huddled in the cockpit. Dust lashed the windows, thunder shook the hull. Ronan checked the power cell again. Still running, he said. Guess Illyrian engineering beats human warranties. She watched him quietly. You are afraid. Of course I'm afraid. But you smile. That's how we fake courage. Lirayan tilted her head. On my world, courage means doing what must be done while your heart screams. He chuckled. Sounds like every date I've ever been on. Her eyes widened. Is that why humans avoid each other so much? Exactly. We're terrified of happy endings. She nodded thoughtfully, as if analyzing a scientific concept. Then perhaps we must test this hypothesis. He blinked. You mean? She interrupted before he could stumble over words. By surviving together, he exhaled. Right. Survival. Definitely what I thought you meant. The storm eased. He rose, checking his gear. I'll draw them off. You stay here. Lirayan stood too. No, we stay together. Lirayan, you saved me twice. I will not wait a third time while you risk your life alone. He looked at her. This pale, glowing alien who'd somehow become the only thing in this wasteland that made sense. All right, he said finally. But if I get vaporized, you're not allowed to say I didn't warn you, she smiled. Agreed. As they prepared to move, Ronan glanced back at the faint light of the console. A thought struck him. You said this ship carried refugees? Yes, he tapped the panel. Then maybe it still can. Her eyes widened as she understood. You think it can fly? With enough wishful thinking and a complete disregard for physics? Absolutely, she laughed, shaking her head. Humans truly are mad. Mad? Nah, just optimistic with bad survival instincts. They powered up what little remained of the engine array. The ship groaned, shuddered, and then, miraculously, one thruster sputtered to life. Ronan whooped. See, she likes me, Lyran smirked. You said that about your ration dispenser once. It betrayed me. This one's different. Machines do not have feelings. Tell that to my toaster. It hates me. She gave him that amused side glance again, the one that made his chest feel too tight. The dropships appeared just as their battered craft lurched skyward. Searchlights swept across the dunes, closing in. Hold on, he said, gripping the controls. If this thing explodes, tell your gods it was my idea, she grinned. They will not believe me. The ship pitched forward, engines screaming. Alarms blared. Ronan's hands flew over the controls, sweat dripping. Almost there. A plasma bolt clipped their wing, and the ship spun. Okay, so maybe not there, he yelled. Lyraean grabbed his arm, shouting something in her own language, a rush of melodic syllables. The ship steadied, the controls glowing under her touch. What did you just do? He asked wide-eyed. I reminded it of its song, she said calmly. He blinked. You sang the ship into working order? Yes. Okay, I officially love your kind of engineering, she laughed. Then sing with me. What now? Now, he hesitated, then joined in, humming awkwardly. The controls pulsed brighter and somehow, impossibly, the ship climbed higher. For a brief, weightless moment, they soared above the storm clouds, two fugitives, one human, one alien, both laughing like idiots in the face of the entire universe. Ronan leaned back, breathless. We're alive. We're actually alive, Lyran smiled softly. For now. Hey, don't ruin the mood. Her gaze lingered on him. You have changed, Ronan Vale. Yeah, he said quietly. Guess I met someone worth changing for. Below them, the desert stretched endless and silent. Ahead, stars scattered like spilled glass. Ronan set the course toward the horizon. Let's find a place your people can heal. And maybe a sandwich shop that's open late. Lyrian laughed, resting her head against his shoulder. Always food with you. Hey, it's how this whole mess started. She smiled. Then perhaps it was destiny, he grinned. If destiny involves snacks, I'm all in. The ship limped through orbit like a half-drunk firefly. Sparks danced from the control panel. The cabin smelled of ozone and victory. Ronan thumped the console. She's holding together, barely. Lyraean leaned over, fingers brushing glowing symbols. You give machines too much credit, he grinned. That's called optimism or denial. Hard to tell the difference when you're dating death, she laughed softly. Then let us court survival instead. They coasted into the shadow of a derelict refueling station, a ring of broken metal drifting in eternal twilight. Here, scanners would lose them. Ronan powered down the thrusters, and for the first time in days, silence wrapped around them. No alarms. No shouting. Just the hum of a ship that refused to die. He looked at her. So, congratulations. You've officially outstolen every thief in the sector. You took my lunch, my rations, and now my career. Lyrian tilted her head, pretending to think. And your heart? Yeah, he said. That too. But I wasn't really using it properly anyway. Her laugh echoed through the small cabin. Humans flirt strangely. You started it, he said. Stealing food is basically a love language where I'm from. They floated together in low gravity, watching the blue curve of Argon 9 far below. Lyrian's glow reflected on the glass, faint and steady. What will you do now? She asked. He shrugged. Guess I'll open a diner somewhere neutral. Vale's Cosmic Sandwiches. Slogan, peace, one bite at a time. She smiled. And you will serve Illyrians? Only if you promise not to steal the ingredients. No promises, she said, and for the first time, the weight between them dissolved into laughter that felt like freedom. A soft chime interrupted them, the ship's comm picking up a broadcast. Attention. Rogue pilot Ronan Vale. You are ordered to surrender your craft immediately. Ronan groaned. They never learn. Lyraean placed a hand on the console. They will not stop. He met her eyes. Then we'll just have to teach them something worth remembering. He flipped the comm open. Command, this is Captain Vale of the totally not stolen ship number 3. I respectfully decline. Static. Then Knox's voice came through, half amused, half angry. You're insane, Vale. Correct, Ronan said. But look on the bright side. You can tell everyone you trained the galaxy's first peace ambassador / sandwich chef. Do you even hear yourself? Constantly. It's how I know I'm alive. He cut the link and turned to Lyran. They'll track us again soon. We can run, or we can show them something worth saving. She studied him. You risk everything again, he shrugged. That's the human way. We mess up, then we try to fix it with heart and poor planning. Lyraean's expression softened. Then let us fix it together. They activated the ship's beacon, not as a distress signal, but as a message. A joint broadcast in both languages. This is Ronan Vale of Earth and Lyraean of Illyria. We are alive because we shared food instead of bullets. If you can hear us, maybe try that first next time. The message looped through the stars. Simple. Foolish. Perfect. Ronan leaned back. Think it'll work? Lyran smiled. It already has. It worked on you, he chuckled. Fair point. Later, when the engines cooled and the stars grew brighter, she rested her head against his shoulder. Your people will call you traitor, she murmured. Probably, he said. But I've been called worse. And besides, history loves idiots who fall for the right reasons. Lyran closed her eyes. Then we are both fools. Best kind of people to change the world, he said softly. Outside, the beacon glowed brighter, a tiny spark in the void. Maybe someday others would see it and remember that peace had started with a sandwich and a smile. Ronan glanced at Lyraean, sleeping against him, and whispered, Worth every bite. He flipped on the navigation lights, aimed for open space, and said with a grin, Next stop, anywhere that doesn't shoot at us. The ship's engines rumbled. The stars stretched, and for once, the universe felt almost kind.